So today I'm just feeling really moved by this idea of how we create our lives and the difference, I guess, between feeling like life happens to us and the sacred act of creating your life. You know, I was watching a video a little while ago where Alan Watts was talking about, excuse me, life as a destination or not, and it's not a destination. And he made the analogy with music, and I loved it. And it made me think about movements in music, and if you're a music lover of classical music or even popular music, music has a verse, popular music has a verse and a chorus, and sometimes a verse and a bridge and chorus, and there are certain repeated themes in it. And that's true of classical music. Classical, Baroque, and other older music styles tend to have more complex structures. But the thing about it is there are always repeated themes. And everybody wants to have that feeling of happiness. Like nobody gets up and says, oh, I want to be miserable today. We might behave in a way that makes us miserable today, but I don't know anybody, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I've never met anybody that says, I wake up and I want to be miserable today. So if life is, we want to have a great life, we want to have a joyful life, we want to have beauty and love and kindness and prosperity and fun. How does that happen? How do you have this greatest life? How do you get that? I I know now, but I didn't used to know. And it's worth exploring because life is like a symphony. There are ups, there are downs, there's soft parts, and there's loud and noisy parts. And it is to be enjoyed all the way through. Like, it isn't going to an end. If you think of your favorite song, whether it's a popular song or an older song or a classic, like, you're not rushing in your mind to the end, to the last note, when the last note fades away and then you've arrived. No, it's the emotion all the way through. You think of songs that you grew up with or songs that you were in high school with or songs that you love. It's the journey all the way through. Well, I finally learned after so many mistakes and everything that's happened that that is the point. Love and loving the journey is the point of life. It is a journey of development, a journey of growth, a journey of service. Like, we're physically built so that we feel good when we help each other. Everybody says all the time, oh, I like helping people. I say it, you say it. So many people say, oh, well, I love to help people. Why do you suppose that is? We're built that way. Our body releases hormones, neurotransmitters that make us feel good. You know, when we lean in, when we help each other, when we work as a group, when we respond to a difficulty. Today, we've got the beginnings of a war going on somewhere in the world, and that's sad. And, without getting into politics and right and wrong, I certainly have my opinions, but that's not what I want to talk about here. But the war itself is sad. That means people die. That means people get hurt. And we don't even need a war to have that. You have the opportunity right now where you are, this moment, to live a great life today, this minute. So do I. And I forget that so often. And so one of my challenges for myself every morning, those of you that know me know I have a big, long, complicated, it's not complicated, very simple actually, but a big, long morning ritual. And the reason that I do is so I can remind me of who I want to be today. And I can reaffirm those choices. A lot of it's written out, but it isn't like a bunch of stuff I just repeat. I lean into and chew those words and see if they taste good today. Who am I going to be today? Am I going to be this person I've declared? And if I say yes, and I do every day, and I might make little adjustments to it, but then I look for opportunities all day. How do I love more today? How do I be kinder today? Who do I help today? And sometimes I'll go on social media or different platforms and I'll just look for places where I can just love somebody and encourage them and say good stuff. Not just to put an emoji or something silly, but to really say, hey, wow, I see you, I hear you. How can I help you today? I had an interesting conversation last night. And in that conversation, it was somebody that was sharing some sorrows, sadness they had, some emptiness. And then he said, you probably don't want to know any of that. And I never met this person before. And I said, oh, yes, I do. I only have one purpose here on the call. And I looked right in the camera at his eyes and I said, my only purpose here is to love you, help you feel better, to lift your spirits, to encourage you today. It was a complete stranger, right? And I said that to him, right to his eyes. And he got emotional and he didn't know what to say. And then he thanked me. And then we had a really good conversation for another half an hour about things that were important to him. And that was a tiny little opportunity. And I never would have seen that or done it if I hadn't been thinking and prepared myself to be that person today. So living your greatest life. I don't know. Do you even know how that's defined for you? I didn't for a long time. I sort of accepted the definition of, well, make a lot of money, be important, have people like you, get a good career. That must be it, right? Because that's what we learn. It didn't work for me. I made a lot of money and all that other stuff, and I wasn't happy. I was miserable. I was sad. I struggled with addictions and failed relationships and heartache and brokenness and everything else. And it wasn't until I finally learned that it's not really about me. It's about my choice to love you, my choice to serve you. And so as I left that other career I'd been in for 30 years, started a brand new career in a completely different area. And I decided to write books, to coach, to practice, to put the words of love and service into some kind of practice. And I'm sure I make mistakes all the time and don't do things right and miss cues and screw it up. But my heart is ever open. And I invite correction, coaching, relationship, connection all the time. And because of that, I've had the opportunity to make some really deep connections and some really meaningful friendships. And I've had a chance to receive downloads, I guess, to write books and to help other people write books and to do that sort of thing that is a beautiful opportunity that I wouldn't have had, that I wouldn't have known, that I wouldn't have experienced if I hadn't said, I'm going to choose to live my greatest life and then define great life as a life of service. You are gifted. You are gifted. And I saw a video the other day that said, your gift is the thing that you do very best with the least amount of effort. So what is it that you do very well, very best with the least amount of effort? What is that? For me, I've learned that I communicate, I speak to people. And in the presence of speaking to people, I often have a big impact on them. And that's something I do easily. It's something I love doing. And it's something that has brought great rewards in terms of connecting and creating friendships and love and kindness. So what is the thing that you do with the really, really well with the least amount of effort? I invite you to explore doing that more, whatever that skill or talent is, because you were gifted with that. And you are gifted with that to make a big difference in the world. You are gifted with that to love and to lift and to bless people all over the place. That's your gift. Lean into and love that gift. And if you don't know what it is, play until you find it. explore. Don't be afraid. I lived for so long feeling like I needed to hide, like who I really wasn't okay. Like there was something wrong with me, fundamentally bad. So I had to hide who I really was and pretend I was somewhere else. Someone else, not somewhere else, but somebody else. I had to do that because otherwise I just wasn't okay. Like the real me wasn't good enough. Well, I don't know if you struggle with any of that or not. I know there's lots of coaches that I work with that feel that too, that who they really are at the core really isn't good enough. It's not powerful enough. It's not really acceptable, valuable, capable. And I want to give you all the encouragement I can with every ounce of emotional energy and love. You are. You're magic. You're valuable. You're powerful. You're good. And me and everybody else, we're just waiting to see that, to accept it, to acknowledge it, to love it, to lean into it. And I plead with you to share everything you are with the world, starting with yourself. One of the hardest things for me to do ever in my universe was to learn to love myself. Oh, I hated that. The first time I looked in the mirror and did the love, I look in your own eyes and say, I love you. I hated that. I felt like I lied. I hated doing it. I looked away. I substituted words, all kinds of things except really loving myself. And learning to love yourself is the fastest and deepest path to connecting with your Creator. Learning to truly honor the creation that you are. Like the Creator, God, Spirit, created you. And you are perfect the way you are. You were sent here with gifts and with things that were flawed. So was I. So were we all. And the journey is for us to help each other through by using our gifts to help others who want help. And if we share that with each other, and do that together, that is beautiful. It is powerful. And I've discovered it's the way to greatest happiness. It's what made me create the podcast that I got. It's called Your Ultimate Life. And I decided, I don't know about you, but I need that reminder every day. So I decided to create a daily podcast, and it's short. It's only 15 minutes. And it's called Your Ultimate Life. And it talks about, how to create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy by serving with your divine gifts. And if we choose to ignore that negative voice in our heads or work on ignoring it, and we choose to look for places to serve and love, what happened to me is I started to love myself more. I started to be less critical. I started to be more compassionate to me and to others. Then I got to a place where part of my morning preparation ritual is a declaration that kindness lives at 100% and judgment lives at 0%. And so all day long, I listen to my language and I look at my reactions and my language and behaviors toward every person and ask myself, am I judging here? Am I being less than compassionate? And of course, because I'm human, the answer is often, oh man, I can do better. I want to do better. I want to love more. I want to love me more. I want to love you more. And I want to lift and bless your heart. So whether you're a CEO with a large team to lead, I've been there as a CEO with a large team to lead, or whether your leadership is just yourself and those who see your example, the greatest life that I can have or that you can have starts with just leading ourselves. I used to think that the measure of my success or coolness or something was how much money I had or how many people I was in charge of or how big of a, something, car, house, whatever I had. And that failed miserably. I found out the hard way, unfortunately, that the happiest I've ever been is when I was leading myself, telling the truth, being authentic, loving more, going out of my way to serve and help people. That's brought more happiness in my life than anything. And you know what else? It's also brought business. It's grown my coaching practice. It's helped me write books and all the rest of this stuff. But that isn't what I set out to do. I just set out to love more. I set out to be the best version of me. I set out to create the kind of relationships where I help you and you help me and we love each other and we live into those gifts and talents that we have. And that might sound like a bunch of woo-woo kumbaya stuff, but the truth is it's how we're made, it's how we're built, and it is the best way to lead yourself and the best way to lead people. If you as a leader show up authentically with honest communication and accept responsibility when you make mistakes and support people and lift and bless them, you'll get loyalty. People will walk off cliffs for you. Why? Because you're loving them and leading them in a way they've never experienced before. If I listen with that intensity of love and paying attention so people feel heard, They'll want to be around you. And I didn't learn this until so many years later. And so your opportunity, my opportunity to live that greatest life where we wake up every morning just happy, thrilled, excited, loving the day, loving what the day's bringing, no matter what it is, that comes with a choice to live into your divine nature. Like you're a divine being. So, okay, what does that being do? Well, that being is loving. It's compassionate. It's kind. It doesn't gossip. It doesn't hurt. It lifts. It blesses. That's what we do. And when we do that, it comes back. It comes back in spades. And we've all heard that and we all think, and there's a lot of situations and structures that don't reward it. But you know what does come? Your internal happiness. Because I know every day and every minute I'm being true to who I am. I used to really not pay attention to what I said. Is it exactly true? Now I have a statement in my personal morning preparation thing that says, I am honesty. I speak only truth. Well, that's a scary thing. That means I monitor. Like even right now, and everything I say, is this true? Will it stand the test of my statement? I speak only truth. And I do everything I can to hold myself to that absolute standard. And there's lots of things that I've said to myself that I want to be, not because somebody told me I had to be, not because somebody's keeping score, but that's who I want to be. And so when you think about, or I think about, your greatest life, to me, that's like answering this question. If people were to describe you or me, not in our presence, oh yeah, she's the gal that fill in the blank, or he's the guy that fill in the blank, what would they say? Like really, in truth? And would that be who you want to be? For me, that's like he always tells the truth. He's always there to help. He loves, he supports, I want those kinds of things said about me. And if that's going to be true for me, for my greatest life, then I have to be that every day, all day long, no matter what. So I would invite you to consider a new definition of greatest life. And maybe that's your definition already. I don't know. But it has become mine. My greatest life is living intentionally a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy that is created by serving with my divine gifts. And you know what I found to be fun? I discover more and more about what those gifts are every day I live and every day I breathe. And so will you, because you are gifted. You are beautiful. You are capable. You have a lot to offer. And I, for one, want to see, feel, experience your divine gifts. and the love and good that you can bring into the world. Love to you, the greatest of encouragement and joy. And I'll see you next time.